Good evening, and welcome to Conversations with a Commissioner. I'm Luke Hattelstad. I'm the Public Information Officer for Arapahoe County, and we're doing a special edition of the Conversations events tonight. And we're featuring District 5 Commissioner Bill Holen and his special guest, Arapahoe County Open Spaces Director Shannon Carter. We're here today to talk to you about our open spaces programs and assets and the potential reauthorization of the open spaces sales and use tax. Director Carter will be running us through a presentation that will talk a little bit about all these things. And Commissioner Holen will also be joined by a special guest, Kevin Hogan from the Aurora Chamber of Commerce. Now, to give you an idea of how this all works, if you're on the phone, and you want to ask a question of any of our panelists, you can dial *3, and that will put you through to an operator, and they'll put you in the queue to ask a question. If you're watching us online, you can just type a question into the comments box, and we can see it on our little dashboard here, and we will ask you about that, or we'll answer that for you, sorry. One thing to note is that this is specifically about open spaces, so we're not answering COVID questions or anything like that. But if you do have questions about that and you want to get them answered, feel free to email us at communicationservices@arapahoegov.com. Now, with that, I will introduce Commissioner Holen.
Thank you, Luke. And thank you all for joining us. As we learned during the pandemic, having access to great open space trails, parks, and waterways is one of the best things about living in Colorado. Here in Arapahoe County, we've spent several decades building and enhancing our open space programs and assets. Before we get our open discussion, I'd like to hold on a second. These are funds by the open space. These are funded by the open space sales and use tax, which is one quarter of a cent tax on retail sales in the county that has generated revenue for these programs since 2004. The county uses this revenue to open spaces directly, and we also share it with our communities and special districts to fund their own projects and programs. As a direct result of this revenue stream, Arapahoe County Open Spaces now owns and operates over 15 parks and open spaces across the county, spanning over 5,000 acres, 4 trailheads, and 20 miles of trails. Voters approved a reauthorization of the tax in 2011, and the tax is set to expire again in 2023. With the deadline in mind, the board is considering whether to send a ballot measure to voters this fall that will ask for another reauthorization. That's why we're here tonight, to show you how open spaces funding works and talk about its benefits to our residents, visitors, and communities. After Shannon Carter goes through his presentation, we'll hear from a few local officials about their experience with open space, with the county's open space assets. And then we'll open it up to questions. Thank you again for being here. And now I'd like to introduce Shannon Carter, our Director of Open Spaces. Shannon?
Thank you, Commissioner Holen. I appreciate the introduction. And we'll go a little bit further about what the Open Spaces program is all about. And so we welcome your questions towards the end. And of course, hopefully we can let you know a little bit more about what we do and how we do it. Slide 2, please. Now, just to give you an overview as far as what this program is really focused in on. The Open Spaces program works to build and maintain a trail network. And certainly in the metro area, we have a wonderful trail network throughout our county. We have the Mary Carter Greenway, or the South Platte Trail. We've got the Highline Canal Trail. We also have, of course, the Cherry Creek, as well as the newly completed High Plains Trail along E470. And that's just a few with the toll gates and other trails that are throughout the metro area that people enjoy walking, biking, and those types of things. And so, again, this is one of the main focus. We also enhance neighborhood and regional parks. And so if you've gone to a park in your neighborhood or somewhere in your community, throughout the county, we help fund either improvements or actually the construction of those particular parks. We also preserve natural and heritage areas. Our natural areas, of course, we're talking about our open space parks, as well as heritage areas, which we have two. The historic 17-Mile House, that's on Parker Road and just south of Broncos Park, right near the county line, as well as the county fairgrounds. Next slide, please. And as Commissioner Holen mentioned, we're responsible for about 15 different parks. And this is just gives you a brief map of the various parks that the county is responsible for. Obviously, we participate and we help fund a number of different park projects throughout the metro area, but these are the ones that we're directly responsible for. Most of them are along the Cherry Creek. If you've got children or if you participated in some youth sports or even adult sports, you probably have visited our Dove Valley Regional Park. It's a lot of athletic fields, and we also have, as mentioned, the historic 17-Mile House. There's a couple of parks up near in the northern part of the county, and so we've got a number of different parks as well as the fairgrounds that's close to the Aurora Reservoir. Next slide, please. And of course, we have large open spaces. Much of our acreage, about 4,000, is in the eastern part of the county. The green section that's over to the right is our Rich Mill Ranch open space. The middle part, that's a solid green, is our Middle Bijou holdings, which include Mule Gulch, and most of it is in agricultural production. Also along Kiowa Bennett Road, we have the Kiowa North and Kiowa South. Now, Kiowa North is one of those open space holdings that we're going to be doing some development on. That is doing some trails and parking lots and picnic shelters. And so that will be our next project that we're going to be working on. Next slide, please. And so really, as a whole, this program has, as Commissioner Holen mentioned, has had a real impact on our community. Parks, trails, and open space, as he mentioned, 70 miles of trails that have been built throughout the county, either by the county or our partner agencies, our cities, towns, and special districts. 168 park projects. And so that's why I was mentioning that most of the metro area, when we start looking at various updates and upgrades to various parks, that's all part of our program through either sharebacks or grant program. 31,000 acres have been preserved either by direct fee simple, that is the organization, the county or other organization owns the property, or through conservation easements. Now, those conservation easements are interesting. In the previous slide, the hash mark areas, those are conservation easements where the property stays within the family or the family farm or the family ranch, and the land is preserved for conservation purposes. Those values are permanent, and so that's what those easements are all about. We've also been involved in, of course, heritage and education. Certainly the fairgrounds is very busy with cultural events, sporting events, consumer events. And so that's been, and of course, just recently the county fair. And boy, what a fair it was this past year. Over 35,000 people were there. The 17-Mile House, of course, we hold educational tours. Again, it provides us environmental education and different school groups that go to the house on a regular basis. Our CSU Extension program, of course, provides horticulture, agriculture, as well as 4-H youth programs that's really focused in on education. And of course, we partner with organizations like the Cherry Creek Stewardship Partners and others for, again, environmental preservation as well as education. Next slide, please. And of course, as I mentioned, the fact that we do a lot of conservation projects. Sometimes we partner with the Mile High Flood District, or Southeast Stormwater Authority, where we really try to do environmental restoration as well as flood mitigation and flood control. And so those are the types of projects that we really focus in on. And this really helps to restore the riparian corridor. Now, what's a riparian corridor? Well, if you're out on the plains, and of course, mostly it's mostly flat, but then you see tree stands that are, or vegetation that's along creek beds and streams. That's the riparian corridor. And of course, we do a lot of restoration there in various projects within the metro area as well as in the Eastern Plains. But they also provide a great wildlife corridor. And so a lot of wildlife travel along those waterways as well as those creek beds. Another way that we really preserve our agricultural heritage is that a lot of our open space holdings are in agricultural production. That is, we lease to the local farmers or ranchers to be able to keep it in production. We do farming, hay and wheat production, and that serves two purposes. One, it helps to preserve that part of our economy as well as food production. But the other thing is that they also assist with the maintenance because, of course, large ranches need fences, wells, and those types of things for agriculture production. So they help in maintaining our properties out in the eastern part of the county. Next slide, please. And how do we do it? Well, as Commissioner Holen mentioned, it's a quarter-cent sales and use tax. And the resolution specifies how that money is to be spent. 50% or half of the money that's collected, tax revenue that's collected, gets shared back with our cities and towns based upon population. So larger cities would get a larger share, smaller cities a smaller share. So 50% is put back into the local community through that part of the funds. 26.66% is used for acquisition and development. That is for county projects as well as regional projects. We call them joint projects, where a group of cities and special districts and the county, as well as others, get together on regional projects, such as the Highline Canal. Those, a number of different underpasses and projects along the Highline Canal were actually done with joint projects. And so this is the fund we use for that. We also have a 12% of the revenue is used for competitive grants so that agencies apply for perhaps maybe a rehabilitation of a playground. They'll get a grant and that will take place. 4.1% for our heritage areas, the fairgrounds and the 17 Mile House. There's a 4% cap on administrative cost. And then, of course, we have 3.24% for maintenance and to maintain county-owned properties. Next slide, please. And so over the life of the program, as Commissioner Holen mentioned, from 2004 up until 2020, we've received almost $360 million in tax revenue, but we've distributed over $256 million to our cities, towns, special districts, shareback, grants, joint projects. And so 71% of the revenue received have actually been reinvested into the community, which is a great track record. And of course, as we do more projects, that number will only go higher. But how has it benefited your community? Next slide, please. Here are some examples of some of the projects that we've worked on. The Buckley Buffer Project, which is a conservation project that we partnered with the federal government, with Great Outdoors Colorado, Department of Military Affairs, City of Aurora, and of course, Arapahoe County. We've conserved over 700 acres surrounding the Buckley Air Force Base in Aurora, being able to make sure that development doesn't encroach into the Air Force Base, as well as providing a recreational amenity to those who are stationed on the base, as well as other areas. And of course, we also mentioned the Highline Canal as another projects that we've gone through. Next slide, please. And so what's happening right now? Well, as Commissioner Holen mentioned, in 2003, when the tax was originally approved by the voters, there was a 10-year sunset. So it was due to expire in 2013. However, in 2011, the board put it to the voters, and the voters decided to extend the tax for another 10 years. So it is up for expiration at the end of 2023. Well, over this past year, we've done a lot of outreach. We've done outreach through developing our open spaces master plan, which included a lot of telephone town halls, surveys, both online, telephone, written surveys, really trying to find out from our voters, or excuse me, from our citizens and our users, what they like about the program, what are some of the things that they'd like to really see. And part of the goals were to really just make sure that the tax, as well as the program, is doing what the citizens would like to see it do. We also engaged our Citizen Advisory Board. This is our Open Space Trails Advisory Board. They were a group of citizens that have oversight over this program, and they did a lot of outreach and talking to a lot of people. And of course, we've been doing things like this, ongoing education and program awareness, making sure people understand what that quarter cent is used for. And of course, again, getting input from them in regards to the value. We've had special meetings with mayors and city council persons. And so all of this to lead up to the board making a decision sometime this month to be able to refer a measure to the voters. But now, next slide. What have we heard? Well, this slide really says it all. Most of the people that we've talked to are very positive about the impact and certainly the benefits that they've received from this program. As it mentions, I value open space, and I think the sales tax is a good way to go about it. And of course, a number of people felt that it was a very good use of funds. One thing that, not surprising, but certainly encouraging that we heard is that people really wanted us to make sure we take care of what we have. There was a large value on making sure that our open spaces, our parks were maintained and in good repair, as well as making sure that we had a place for wildlife. Certainly people recognize that as the metro area grows, and sometimes wildlife becomes a real challenge. And so being able to set aside riparian areas, other areas are doing environmental restoration to be able to preserve those areas. And so that's another thing that we heard from our citizens quite frequently. And of course, most people really recognize that this really does contribute to the quality, a high quality of life in our community. Next slide, please. And so what's under consideration? Well, right now, we had a small group of 2 commissioners and 2 of our advisory board really take a deeper dive into the program, how it operates, with the goal of making or recommending some changes to the program if that was certainly something that was warranted. Well, a couple of things came out of that analysis. First off, they really felt that there shouldn't be any changes to that share back, that 50% share back that I spoke of earlier. The grant program, the 12% that really is for special districts and cities and towns to really do a number of different projects. They also recommended that because these properties are part of the permanent infrastructure with our community, the funding should be permanent. And so they made a recommendation to the board to make the tax permanent. Also, as I mentioned earlier, we heard very loudly that we want to make sure that the citizens want to make sure that we take care of what we have. And so being able to increase the amount of money that we can spend towards maintaining and improving our existing parks, trails, and open space, that was a strong recommendation that that small committee made. And they also recommend that, yes, the board refer this measure to the voters in November. So next slide, please. What are the next steps? Well, the next steps are really, we welcome whatever questions that you have, using opportunities such as this to have that conversation about what you value with the program and how you've benefited from there. Again, as I mentioned, the board will be making that decision within the next few weeks. And of course, the best that you can do is really continue to enjoy what we have. And of course, again, it contributes towards the quality of life that we all enjoy within the metro area. And we hope to see you out on the trails. Turn it back over to Lou. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. It's a lot of great info. And I should mention because most of you are joining us on the phone, that a recording of the video of this event will be available on our website within about 24 hours. And, we gave you a lot of stats, a lot of details about how reauthorization works. So if you want to, go through that at your own pace, you can come to our website in about 24 hours, and this recording of this event will be available. So before we get to questions from the audience and before we meet our special guest, I want to reiterate that if you have a question for any of our panelists, just dial *3 and that'll put you through to an operator. You can also type a question into the comments box if you're watching online, but it sounds like the phone is the most likely way to do that. So *3 and we'll put you through. Before we meet our special guest, I just want to ask those of you on the phone to, respond to the following polling question. This is one of two questions I'm going to ask the audience tonight. This question is on a scale of 1 to 5. How likely are you to recommend living in Arapahoe County to someone else? Press 1 if you're very likely to recommend it. Press 2 if you're somewhat likely. Press 3 if you're neutral. Press 4 if you're somewhat unlikely. And press 5 if you're very unlikely. Again, that's how likely are you to recommend living in Arapahoe County to someone else? That's 1 if you're very likely to recommend that. 2 if you're somewhat likely. 3 if you're neutral. 4 if you're somewhat unlikely, and 5 if you are very unlikely. So I'll give you the results of that and ask you another question in a few minutes. But before that, we are going to bring it back to Commissioner Holen, who's going to have a little chat with Kevin Hogan.
Thank you, Luke. Before we get to our open discussion, I'd like to welcome Kevin Hogan. Kevin Hogan is the president and CEO of the Aurora Chamber of Commerce. He's joining us on the phone tonight. Welcome, Kevin. As you know, Kevin, the city of Aurora yes, go ahead.
I was just saying thank you, Commissioner.
All right. Thank you, Kevin. We appreciate your presence today. The city of Aurora has received over $116.9 million from the sales and use tax since 2004 via grants, joint project, shareback. Can you talk a little bit about what these funds have enabled the city to do with its open spaces and assets and programs?
Thank you, Commissioner. Absolutely. Again, I really appreciate the opportunity to get on the phone with everybody tonight and talk about, Shannon mentioned it a number of times, but it really is the quality of life. And from an economic development standpoint, from business retention, business recruitment, I think we all realize we moved here to Colorado because of the beauty, the outdoor activities, the quality of life is why we're here. It has a direct response, the open space tax, on recruiting and retaining companies here to Colorado. We have such an overabundance sometimes of opportunities to run up to the mountains, but even in our backyards, our own backyards, with the Highline Canal, with the bike riding abilities we have, I personally love to get out and bike ride. So when I'm visiting with a company on why they should move here to Colorado or why they should stay, it always comes up, and really we point out often the open space tax that brings that quality of life to Arapahoe citizens. We have examples that were touched on just a little while ago, the Buckley buffer area. We were able to leverage, with the county's support, the open space tax, leverage $26 million for what they call the Regional Environmental Protection Integrity, REPI. But with that money, we were able to not only protect Buckley and its Buckley space base today for huge growth in the future in the aerospace industry, clean industry, high-paying jobs. But because Buckley's protected on the southern part with the Plains Conservation Center, we're able to really recruit and retain those vital employees and vital employers that make Colorado and, of course, Arapahoe the place to live. I personally myself get out on the bike trail almost every weekend. I will sometimes go downtown, but stop at 4 Mile. But on the way back, I always stop at 9 Mile, catch a little breath of air. Of course, 9 miles by stagecoach to downtown. And if you have a chance to ride out to 17 Mile, the historic house, it's just really a fabulous opportunity to really get out, take a look at the wildlife preservation that's happened. We know that Colorado will continue to grow. Our population growth is amazing, and more homes are coming. And they're not building large lots these days, and so the new people moving to Colorado, our family, our grandchildren that are staying here, they need a facility. They need facilities like the open space provides, and we can get out and enjoy these. I think since COVID, the last 18 months, the use of our outdoor activities is up 48%. 48%. It's hard to even rent a bike, let alone buy a bike. Paddleboarding, golf, you name it. Outdoor activities are exploding, and we are now able to get outside safely and enjoy this quality of life. One small area I'll bring up real quickly is a small park in the central part of Aurora called Olympic Park. It's a beautiful softball. The city of Aurora was able to use the money from the open space, leverage that, and we bring in massive softball tournaments each year. We really bring in some of the biggest women's softball tournaments in the country. They fill up our hotels. Our restaurants are flourishing. And when a young lady comes out here with one of the softball tournament teams, not only do her parents travel, often the grandparents. So it's really a tourist destination we've created with our outdoor activities. I'm real proud to work with our commissioners and with our staff at the county to really enhance what we've all done. And so the chamber and our business community, we're really supporting the opportunity to renew this open space tax, hopefully someday maybe even make it permanent, because we feel that it's so valuable. So I just wanted to share a few minutes, Commissioner, on some of the things that I think are just outstanding about the open space parks and trails. And if I might, and I'm talking a lot, I apologize, if I might share one other small story. Down in the Southlands area, down along E470 and Smoky Hill Road, there was a Red Hawk Ridge, a park built for disabled children. The city of Aurora, along with the local Rotary Club, was able to leverage the money from the county and build really a park for children with disabilities. We found out we had over 500 children within a 2 mile part of that park. You want to go see some children and family members smile and enjoy the outdoors, go over to that little park. You'll find it really adding to the quality of life. So thank you for an opportunity to share for a few minutes, and I really appreciate the outstanding program here that Shannon just presented to all of us citizens here in Arapahoe County.
Well, thank you, Kevin. The county commissioners and the residents of Arapahoe County really appreciate the strong support that the Aurora Chamber has shown to, as you have expressed today, to support this program. I think both you and I are members of the Rotary Club that raised well over $200,000 locally to help support that Red-tailed Park project. And I think it does provide, when organizations like yours and others who come together and find programs that need funding that otherwise would not be able to be funded without the support of the open space dollars, share back, and grant programs. So thank you, Shannon and Kevin, for your wonderful comments tonight. I think now we're ready to take your questions. Luke will remind you how to do that. Go ahead, Luke.
Thank you, Commissioner. Again, if you're on the phone and want to ask a question of any of our panelists, dial *3. That'll put you through to an operator. And while I have you here, I'll give you the results of the first polling question. It was on a scale of 1 to 5. How likely are you to recommend living in Arapahoe County to someone else? 50% of you said you're very likely. 19% said somewhat likely. 31% are neutral, and it was 0% for somewhat unlikely or very unlikely. So that's good. Everybody's happy to live here, which is great. I'm going to ask you one more polling question in a few minutes. But I'm going to start by talking, following up on Kevin's comments about the softball park and the park for disabled children. I mean, these, it's sort of the intuitive part of open spaces. We all, we sort of automatically think of bike trails, hiking trails, a couple other, obvious assets. But that economic development part, and that as it pertains to the quality of life that we enjoy here in Colorado, and particularly in Arapahoe County, can you talk a little more about just like how much that means? Have we had any recent additions to the corporate landscape in and around Aurora?
Luke, we are really becoming a hub for logistics. As we know, things have changed dramatically. The way we shop online, Amazon has become a big friend of everybody's. But you could take a look at just from the aerospace industry that is flocking to Colorado. Hopefully someday we have Space Command here, and out at Buckley, it'll be a home to thousands of employees. There's over 15,000 people working currently on the space base with over, I believe it's way over 100 tenants on there now. If you take a look at the healthcare that we brought in, the School of Medicine today is at the Fitzsimmons campus. It's just on the north side of Arapahoe County, but we've got 55,000 people working in the healthcare industry. People don't know we have the School of Medicine, the School of Nursing, the School of Pharmacy. Right down the street from us is one of the larger programs that Denver is putting on, and that's the new Spur at the Western Stock Show. What a better place to showcase the agricultural opportunities that we have along the I-70 corridor, and how fast Arapahoe County, I think we sometimes living in town, we forget about the unbelievable agricultural and industries we have, from farming to livestock. I believe the county fair was a great example. We were out there for a Boots Not Suits dinner the other night, a couple of weeks ago, and I understand there was a record 10,000 people attended, more than last year. That just shows you the strength not only of tourism, but also activities, but really the strength of our agricultural community. And with new facilities being built just down the road with an aquatic center, CSU is bringing the veterinarian school down. What an opportunity to utilize the park and open space that brings that quality of life to us all.
Absolutely, and I know the commissioner works hard on that as well. Commissioner, you played a role in the Buckley Buffer project, didn't you?
Yes, Luke, thank you very much. I think this has been a nationally recognized successful program where local communities, the Department of Defense, the Trust for Public Lands, all came together, GOCO and others came together and realized the importance to national security of maintaining Buckley Air Force Base as an important asset to our national security program. We were able to stitch together a variety of organizations and individual opportunities to raise enough money to be able to purchase over 700 acres of land adjacent to the Buckley Air Force Base, and this will help prevent any encroachment, commercial or retail, to the base, and will protect its long-term viability as an organization so important to our national security. Thank you.
Yeah, and of course that Space Command thing is still pending. We're hoping to get it here in Colorado, and that would obviously benefit the county and the whole state too.
Absolutely.
Before I go to another, so before I go to another question, I want to ask one more polling question for those of you on the phone. This is how satisfied are you about your interactions with the Arapahoe County Government specifically? Press 1 if you've been very satisfied. Press 2 if you've been somewhat satisfied. Press 3 if you're neutral or it doesn't apply because you haven't really interacted with us very much. Press 4 if you've been somewhat dissatisfied, and press 5 if you've been very dissatisfied. We're always trying to, make our services better. So if you could help us understand how we could do that, that would be great. Again, it's how satisfied are you with your interactions with the Arapahoe County Government? Press 1 if you've been very satisfied. 2 if you've been somewhat satisfied. 3 if it's neutral or not applicable. 4 if you've been somewhat dissatisfied, and 5 if you've been very dissatisfied. So next question is, and again, if you want to ask a question on the phone, dial *3. You go through, that'll put you through to an operator. This question is for Shannon. With the recent shutdown of I-70 because of the mudslides and the damage it caused to the road, do we anticipate Arapahoe County open spaces getting more traffic in the next couple of weeks or months because of this? Is that something we can gauge at all?
Well, it would probably be difficult to gauge in regards to what impact the shutdown in Glenwood Canyon would have on us. However, one of the things that we try to make sure people understand is that they don't have to fight the traffic on I-70. If we have amenities, if we have trails, if we have parks and open spaces for people to enjoy, that's a little closer to home. So you don't have to get on I-70 in order to have those recreational opportunities. And so that's one of our goals, is to make sure that our spaces are in good repair, as well as they're available for, again, citizens to enjoy. One of the areas that, perhaps I know that sometimes you have to go to the ocean to surf and do certain types of water sports. Well, through one of our projects, you can actually surf on the South Platte. So again, there are numerous opportunities for people to enjoy the outdoors. That's a little closer to home.
Yeah, and that's certainly one of the benefits at all times, is the need to not get on I-70 to enjoy our open spaces. That's definitely one of our fringe benefits, I think. Another question for all of you. I'll start with Commissioner Holen, and then have Kevin and Shannon weigh in. How would we have established an open spaces program had this tax never been initiated, and what would happen if it isn't approved, the reauthorization is not approved, on any ballot measure that we put forward? What would that do to the projects we already have?
Well, as Shannon so eloquently presented, we've spent hundreds of millions of dollars since 2004 in improving our trails, open space, and acquiring lands which otherwise would have been lost to commercial development. If this program is not reauthorized, then the cities are going to have to pick up a larger percentage of their maintenance and development costs for just maintaining the existing infrastructure that we have in the county. And right now, given what happened with the COVID issue in terms of the reduction in sales tax and other forms of fees and taxes, they're not going to have the financial ability to even maintain to the high quality that we currently maintain our parks and trails. So I think it would be a devastating impact on local governments and special districts, and of course the county, to be able to maintain the high level of opportunity for outdoor recreation.
Shannon, what?
That's kind of an interesting question, because I won't say how long, but I've been with the county for quite a number of years prior to the Open Spaces program. And so I do remember us not having one. And I can just tell you a couple of things that, we weren't able to do because there was no dedicated funding for it. The trail along Cherry Creek, there were several pretty prominent gaps that you had to actually go off the trail onto streets through a neighborhood, go north, and then go back through a neighborhood to get back on the trail because there were so many different missing links to our trail network. Trying to get under or across Arapahoe Road along Cherry Creek was very dangerous. Iliff near Dayton was very dangerous along the Highline Canal. You couldn't, you basically had to jump into a median through 4 lanes of traffic and wait at the median to see if you can get through. And so there are so many examples of how we made so many different improvements to our trail network. Certainly when we start thinking about the county fair, well, the county fair, because we didn't have a fairgrounds, was held in several different places around the county and sometimes even in the in Denver. And so there were a number of things that we could not do because there was no funding for it. The 17 Mile House was barely preserved, the historic house, and it was in disrepair at the time, even though we had some grants. So those were some of the things that we were not able to do. And so if this isn't renewed, then those types of projects, because there are still dangerous intersections that we'd like to improve. There are still parks and trails that need to be developed. I mentioned the Dove Valley sports field. We purchased some more property to be able to expand that. That would not be able to be done. And as Commissioner Holen really highlighted, maintenance and park projects, even within our cities. I just was recently talking to one of my colleagues at one of our larger cities, and about 12% of their operating costs or operating budget is funded by this program. 20 to 25 or 25 to 50% of their capital projects are funded by this program. So those are the types of things that would really have a struggle with trying to get funding for.
Yeah, and I mean, I can't even imagine the county without a fairgrounds, without all those trail connections you mentioned. Kevin, Aurora is the largest city in the county and therefore gets the largest share of these revenues. You've mentioned a couple of the parks within the city. What other sort of benefits has the city seen from these funds?
Well, thank you, Luke. Besides Aurora, Centennial, Inglewood, Glendale, Greenwood Village, Littleton, Sheridan, all the cities in the county would have to spend more money on, let's say, police protection even. We've had such a challenging time right now with our police departments, as we all know. But the city of Aurora, as an example, 700 officers, without they'd have to put so much more money that they wouldn't have for parks and open space into those programs. The city would probably, looking at the fire department, the police department, transportation costs right now are so high to maintain. The cost of water, I mean, we could go on and on. Colorado is a phenomenal place to live, but it is expensive. Our roads are frozen, warmed up, frozen. Some days that the sheer amount of money for maintenance alone the city would have to pour into would take away all the money they have for parks and recreational opportunities. So the cities without this money in the county would all have to pour more money into other divisions. And then, unfortunately, we'd see not only growth in our parks and rec trails, we'd probably see them start to deteriorate. There wouldn't be money to probably even maintain them at the pristine areas that we've all been so blessed with. So with, over 650,000 residents in our county, it would put a huge burden more again on the police, fire, transportation, and probably the area we forget about because we're all in this massive drought is the cost of water. And so it takes a tremendous amount of money and energy on 4 or 5 of those projects I just mentioned that the cities would all have to pick up the slack a tremendous amount.
Yeah, the ripple effects are real. Shannon, we had a question on a previous reauthorization event about water, and someone was asking about can we get more fresh water along the walking trails or the biking trails? Can you talk a little bit about how we're addressing that, given the water shortage that this whole region is experiencing?
Yeah, the question was about of course, we have great trail networks, and once you get a certain age like me, sometimes you judge how far you walk by how far you can get back to certain facilities. And so having comfort stations, having water fountains along the trail. And so that was the question, is if there's plans or abilities to improve that network. And yes, in some instances we can, because of course it really depends upon whether there's water available that's close to the trail, whether the availability and of course the cost. In certain trailheads, we do have restroom facilities, either portalets or sometimes vault toilets. And as many as we can, and as many as it's available, we try to have some type of a water fountain for both people as well as their pets. And so we do what we can, but as you mentioned, it is very expensive as far as getting, and sometimes the water is just not available. There's no freshwater service that's close to a trailhead. And so for those, we are not able to provide that. But when we can and when we have the ability, we do try to do that.
Excellent. All right. I believe Kevin, yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying, I apologize. I got disconnected, so pardon me here a few minutes ago.
All right. Well, I think we're actually wrapping up now. Let me read you the results of the second polling question about how satisfied the audience has been with their interactions with the Arapahoe County Government. 38% say they're very satisfied, 8% somewhat satisfied, 46% are neutral or it's not applicable, and then 8% were very dissatisfied. That's a number, of course, that we would like to improve over time. So if you have any suggestions for how best to do that, we'd love to hear from you. You can send an email to communicationservices@arapahoegov.com. And just to remind everyone who's listening in, we will have a recording of this event within about 24 hours on our website. I invite you to go to the arapahoegov.com website and look at the open spaces section, which will tell you about the reauthorization process and how it would work. And there's also some really good videos. Shannon mentioned the 17 Mile House. There's a great page there that shows how they revived and preserved everything there. So with that, we're going to be doing another round of conversations with commissioners in Q4 around election time. That will be dealing with our transportation master plan and the various goals and objectives we have in mind for transportation issues around the county. So we welcome you to do that, and please let us know if you have any questions about anything else. Thanks to all of our guests and our experts and our panelists, and we will talk to you soon.